guys, welcome to Little Einstein's music program. I'm so excited that you're here, and I hope you are just as excited as I am for all the cool things we're going to be learning. Every morning you're going to be learning a yoga pose, which is going to be fun, and hopefully you'll be able to do it. We're going to learn about an instrument every single day. We'll learn about the string family, the brass family, and the woodwind family, and a little bit about percussion. So we'll learn a new instrument every single day. And we're going to do music games. We're going to have little art music projects every single day. Some days we'll have Zoom calls where you guys get to meet each other and we can talk about stuff and so on and so forth. So let's get started. Today's instrument is the violin. And I have this sheet here that tells you every little part of the violin, and I'll go through that with you too. So if you think about it, the violin looks kind of like a person. We have the head, we have the body and the back, we have the neck, right? So being more specific of what those are called, this is called the scroll. So the head of the violin is called a scroll. We then have pegs, and these pegs can go up and down, and they are to tune the instrument to make sure that the strings are in the right pitches. Next, this black part is called the fingerboard, and that's where we're going to put our fingers on the right strings to make music. We have the neck of the violin, and we have chin rest. That's where our chin will go. We have the tailpiece that holds down the strings, and we have fine tuners that also tune the strings a little bit better to be more precise. And then we have the bridge, and that's exactly what that is. It's a bridge that's keeping the string at the right height. We have the back of the violin, and then we have the front of the violin. And then we have these two F holes. One of them is in the shape of an F, and what's important about this is that this is where the sound comes out of the instrument. On the inside of those F holes, if you look through your instrument, you can see that there's a stick that's keeping the top and the bottom violin wood in place. And that is called a sound post. Some musicians call it the heart or soul of the violin. So that's pretty cool. And then we have our string names. So we have G, D, A, E. So we have 4 strings on the violin. And an easy way to learn your string names is to give it a name. Like G can be gorilla or grapes. D can be dog, dandelions. A can be ant, apple. E can be elephant, or whatever you like to name them. So an easy way to learn your string names is give it a name and just constantly repeat that. So another thing we're going to learn is the music ABCs. So just like your normal alphabet, you go from A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and we end on Z, right? On our musical alphabets, we start on A and then we end on G. So it goes A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Now, what happens after G when we get there? What happens is that we start over. So it kind of goes in a circle. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and so on and so forth. You keep going. And this is for no matter what instrument you play, is the exact same it's the exact same note names for any instrument. If it's a violin, if it's going to be drums, if it's going to be a trumpet or a flute, all of those have the same music ABCs. So that's cool that you can learn. Another thing we're going to talk about is our bow anatomy. So your violin goes in the left hand, the bow goes in the right hand. And we have a couple parts of the bow. So we have the bow stick, and then we have the bow hair, which is made of horsehair. And then we have the frog, which is the heaviest part of the bow. And then we have the tip of the bow, which is at the top of the bow. We have a screw that either loosens the bow or tightens the bow when you're ready to use it with your instrument. Whenever you're playing the violin or viola, cello, any stringed instrument, anytime you're not using your instrument, you want to make sure that you loosen up the bow. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. So left if you want to loosen. And think of it as putting a baby to sleep or something, everyone needs their nap. So anytime that you're not using your bow, you want to make sure it's loose. Anytime that you're ready to use it, make sure it's tight. And you want to make sure it's not too tight. You want to make sure that your pinky can't go through. So not too much, but that's the bow anatomy. We have this circular thing which is called a fisheye. And we have the pad where our fingers will go on top of. So that is the bow, and we will learn some bow exercises later in the week, which are fun and hopefully you can keep up with. All right, so next we're going to talk about our senses. So we have 5 senses. We have touch, smell, sight, hearing, and taste. And we use those every single day. Like right now, I am touching my pen and I can smell the fresh air. I can hear that bird chirping, and then I can see the plants, the table, the violin. I'm using my sights. Right now, I'm just not tasting anything. If I want to drink my water, I'd be tasting it. So maybe throughout the day, try to think about the senses that you do use. And why I bring that up is that as musicians, we use 3 specific senses. And the one we're going to talk about today is sight, because we're looking and we're learning about our instruments. And sight is how we identify strings and we identify parts of the instrument as well, and all of that. So that's a cool thing. And then we'll keep learning different senses that as musicians we use a lot. And next, what we're going to talk about is our composer of the day, which is Peter Ilyich Tchaikovsky. So, a couple of things about Tchaikovsky is that he was born in a small town in Russia in 1840, so pretty long time ago. He was a Russian composer. He wrote songs and pieces back then, and he lived for 53 years. He is one of the most popular Russian composers of all time. Everyone knows Tchaikovsky, and you know what? So do you. Tchaikovsky wrote one of the most famous ballets, Swan Lake, Nutcracker. I'm pretty sure at Christmas time you always see the Nutcracker in different scenes. I will also add a link to if you want to watch the entire Nutcracker ballet. It's pretty cool. And he also wrote Sleeping Beauty. So he is known, like I said, as the greatest composers of ballet. And if you don't know what a ballet is a type of dance. The dancers who have special training, they perform in that's going to be accompanying them, so playing the music for them. So there's no singing, no words. It's just music and dancing. You'll get to see a bit of ballet if you video that you're going to watch, which is called The Steadfast Teacher. It's a story that Hans Christian Andersen wrote, and we have classical music, Tchaikovsky's Piano Concerto, which will be accompanying the music, so hopefully you'll enjoy that. But he started taking piano lessons when he was only 5 years old, and very quickly he became better than his teacher at piano. His family had this kind of musical box called an orchestrion. So an orchestrion is something that plays tunes, and back then the one that they had played tunes from classical music by Mozart, Bizet, Bellini, Donizetti, and Rossini. So a lot of popular things. When he was around 8, Tchaikovsky's family moved to St. Petersburg in Russia, but Tchaikovsky was unhappy as he was often separated from his family, who moved several times. When he was 14, his mom passed away. He tried to comfort himself by playing music, and that's how he got so good at the piano and into music. Throughout the years, he learned how to play the flute and the organ while at a new conservatory. Conservatory is a music school in St. Petersburg. And when he was around 35 years old, he started taking a long tour, which is a trip around Europe. He listened to Bizet and Wagner's performances, And that's during that time is when he finished his first ballet. So during this tour is when he started composing, which is writing pieces. So 10 years later, when he was 45, Tchaikovsky got tired of traveling around Europe. So he rented a house and lived a regular life, walking in the forest, composing during the day, and then in the evenings he would play music with his friends. The last few years of his life, Tchaikovsky was very successful and toured throughout the world as a conductor. So he directed an orchestra. And he even conducted here in America at our most famous concert hall, which is called Carnegie Hall in New York. So he performed at the opening of that new hall. He had gotten sick a few days after his final work was performed, Pathétique, and which was said to be his best. So he passed away because he caught some sickness in Russia. But that's a couple facts about Tchaikovsky. I hope you enjoyed this video. We're gonna be watching a Fantasia video, like I said, about the Tin Fast Music Soldier. And then today's game is music balloons, so I hope you have fun with that as well. If you'd like to join us later for our Zoom call, please meet us up and we'll have fun getting to know one another. So thank you so much, and then I'll see you tomorrow morning.